Mr. Lin, please step aside. You're blocking Ms. Shaw's way. A thin, sharp voice filled with obvious impatience rang beside my ear. The hand holding my wine glass paused slightly. I turned and looked at the young man standing before me. He wore a custom-made designer suit, his hair combed until it shone, and his face carried undisguised arrogance. His name was Zach Yu. He was the chief assistant of my wife, Serena Shaw. At that moment, he stood protectively in front of Serena like a proud peacock, looking me up and down with a judging, contemptuous gaze. I ignored him. My eyes passed over his shoulder and landed on Serena behind him. Tonight, she wore a burgundy evening gown with a high slit. Under the brilliant crystal lights of the banquet hall, her delicate makeup made her look dazzling and radiant. She was the focus of the entire room. She was the youngest and most promising CEO of SkyCloud Technologies. And I was merely the insignificant husband standing beside her. A man who looked almost unnecessary. Serena, did you forget? Today is our 3rd wedding anniversary. My voice was not loud, but it was enough for her to hear. Serena held a glass of champagne and was chatting happily with an industry tycoon. When she heard me, the smile on her face froze for only a moment before she returned to that flawless business elite expression. She did not even look directly at me. She merely tilted her head slightly, her tone carrying a perfunctory blame. Jianshan, stop making trouble. Can't you see I'm discussing business? Her voice was cold, like ice in December. What anniversary could be more important than the deal Ms. Shaw is about to sign tonight? Zach spoke again, the mockery in his tone even stronger. Mr. Lin, people should have self-awareness. Don't always drag Ms. Shaw down. He stepped forward until he nearly bumped into me. Then he lowered his voice so only the two of us could hear. A kept man should know his place. Stay quietly in a corner. Don't come out and embarrass yourself. The knuckles gripping my wine glass turned faintly white. For 3 years of marriage, to support Serena's career, I had given up my original job and become what others called a house husband. I handled all housework so she could fight in the business world without worries. I thought she could see everything I had done. But what I received in return was her coming home later and later, talking to me less and less, and this assistant beside her becoming more and more brazen with his provocations. This is between my wife and me. It is not your place, as an outsider, to interfere. I looked coldly at Zach, my voice carrying warning. Zach seemed to hear the biggest joke in the world. He burst into exaggerated laughter, drawing the attention of nearby guests. Outsider? Mr. Lin, I'm afraid you still don't understand your position. At the company, I spend far more time with Ms. Shaw than you, her so-called husband. Every decision Ms. Shaw makes involves me. What about you? Other than cooking and mopping floors, what can you do? His voice was neither loud nor quiet. Just enough for the surrounding tables to hear. Those gazes were like needles stabbing into my body. I saw Serena frown. But she did not reprimand Zach. Instead, she turned her gaze toward me. Her eyes were full of displeasure and warning. That look seemed to say, why do you always make me look so bad? My heart sank little by little. Zach, you had better apologize for what you just said. I spoke word by word. The smile on Zach's face grew brighter. He leaned closer and lowered his voice, his tone dripping with contempt. Apologize? Do you deserve it? Trash. Then, as if on purpose, he lifted his hand. The red wine in his glass was accidentally poured all over my white shirt. The icy liquid soaked through the fabric. The wine-red stain across my chest looked especially glaring under the lights. The entire banquet hall fell silent. Every gaze focused on us. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Lin. My hand slipped. His mouth apologized. But his face carried a smug, provocative smile. He even stretched out his hand and pretended to help wipe off the stain on my shirt. But that hand carried an insulting force. Pat. Pat. Again and again, his palm slapped lightly against my face. The sound was not loud. But inside the deathly silent banquet hall, it clearly reached everyone's ears. My mind buzzed. I looked at Zach's smug little face. At the guests around me, some sympathetic, some mocking, some simply watching the show. Finally, my gaze landed on Serena's face. She stood there, coldly watching everything. There was not the slightest intention of stopping him. In her eyes, I did not see concern. I did not see anger. I saw disgust. extreme disgust that I had embarrassed her. My anger, at that moment, was completely ignited. I raised my hand sharply. Lin Jianchen, don't you dare. Serena's icy voice poured down like a basin of freezing water. If you dare hit him back today, we will divorce immediately. Her words were like the sharpest knife, stabbing precisely into the softest part of my heart. The hand I had raised froze in midair. The smile on Zach's face grew even more pleased. He knew Serena was his shield. He leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Did you hear that, trash? Ms. Shaw told you not to move. Try moving." Then he raised his hand. Slap. A crisp, loud slap landed hard across my face. The whole world seemed to freeze. My cheek burned. But it was not even 1/10,000th of the pain in my heart. I looked at Serena. She still stood there. Her eyes were cold, completely unmoved. As if the person being slapped was not her husband, but an irrelevant stranger. Her gaze even carried warning. As if telling me, you had better endure it. Don't cause trouble for me. I laughed. Under the silent stares of the entire room, I laughed softly. For 3 years of marriage, I thought I was warming a stone. Only now did I realize it was not stone. It was ice. Ice that could never be warmed. Fine. Very fine. I spoke softly, then turned my gaze to Zach. Zach's scalp seemed to prickle from my laugh. But thinking that Serena stood behind him, his courage returned. What are you laughing at? A grown man gets slapped and only knows how to laugh like an idiot. What a coward. I did not waste another word on him. In front of everyone's stunned eyes, I raised my hand and used all my strength to slap him back. Slap. That slap was 10 times louder than his. Zach spun half a circle on the spot and fell heavily to the floor. He covered his rapidly swelling cheek and stared at me in disbelief. His eyes were filled with horror and shock. You dared hit me? Lin Jianchen, are you insane? Serena's sharp voice finally rang out. She rushed to me, her face full of anger and disbelief. Didn't you hear what I said? I told you. If you hit him back, we divorce. She pointed at my nose, trembling with rage. Then divorce. I looked at her calmly and spoke those words. My calm seemed to enrage her even more. You think I'm joking? Lin Jianchen, don't regret this. I never do things I regret. I spoke lightly. Then, from the inner pocket of my suit, I took out something. A document. I unfolded it and handed it to her. Black letters on white paper. The title was extremely clear. Divorce Agreement. Serena's pupils contracted sharply. You prepared this long ago? There was an almost unnoticeable tremor in her voice. Just in case. Then I took a Mont Blanc pen from my pocket, removed the cap, and handed it to her. Sign it. My movements were smooth and decisive. Not the slightest hesitation. The crowd had completely exploded. Oh my God, what is this? Ms. Shaw's husband carries a divorce agreement with him? This reversal is too exciting. Looks like this couple has been broken for a long time. Serena's face shifted between blue and white. She looked at the pen and agreement I handed her. Taking them was wrong. Not taking them was also wrong. In front of so many eyes, I had forced her into an impossible position. The threat of divorce had been her weapon to control me. Now I had turned that weapon around and pointed it at her. What? You don't dare sign? I looked at her, a mocking curve at the corner of my mouth. Weren't you so firm just now? Ms. Shaw, everyone in this room heard you. You said if I hit back, we divorce. Now I have hit back. It's your turn to keep your word. Serena's chest rose and fell violently. She glared at me as if she wanted to swallow me whole. Lin Jianchen, do you have to make this so ugly? Ugly? I nearly laughed. Your assistant slapped your husband in front of everyone. You indulged him. You threatened me. And now you ask me whether I have to make things ugly? Serena Shaw, who exactly is humiliating whom? My voice was not loud. But every word cut into the heart. Serena's face turned completely pale. She knew she was in the wrong. But her long-standing arrogance would not let her lower her head. Fine. Divorce, then. I, Serena Shaw, can survive without anyone. She snatched the pen and agreement from my hand and signed her name at the end as if venting all her anger. She pressed so hard the paper nearly tore. After signing, she threw the agreement against my chest. Lin Jianchen, get out. I never want to see you again. I picked up the signed agreement and checked it carefully. Then I folded it with great care and placed it back into my pocket. As you wish. I looked at her one last time, then turned to leave this suffocating place. At that moment, Zach, who had been sitting on the floor in shock, suddenly crawled toward me and hugged my leg. His face no longer held the arrogance and smugness from before. Only endless panic and despair. Mr. Lin, no, Chairman Lin. You can't leave. That one sentence, Chairman Lin, stunned everyone. Serena frowned too, looking at him in confusion. Zach, what madness are you spouting? His last name is Lin, not Chairman. But Zach ignored Serena completely. He hugged my leg tightly, looked up at me, and his voice carried tears. Chairman Lin, if you and Ms. Shaw divorce, then the 1.5 billion investment Kunlun Capital promised SkyCloud Technologies, will it be terminated? Zach's words were like a bomb exploding inside the noisy banquet hall. The entire room fell into dead silence. Everyone widened their eyes, faces filled with disbelief. Kunlun Capital. That was one of the top investment institutions in the country. It held trillions in assets. A true giant in the capital market. And SkyCloud Technologies had indeed been seeking a huge financing round recently to develop its latest chip technology. Industry rumors said SkyCloud had connected with Kunlun Capital and was about to receive a strategic investment worth 1.5 billion. That money was life or death funding for SkyCloud. But now, what did Zach's words mean? What did that investment have to do with Serena's seemingly useless husband? Could it be a ridiculous but seemingly only possible answer appeared in everyone's mind? Serena's body swayed violently. Her face turned white as paper. She stared at me, lips trembling, unable to say a word. Kunlun Capital? I lowered my head and looked at Zach, who hugged my leg and cried miserably. What is that? My tone was filled with innocent confusion. Zach was nearly crying from anxiety. Chairman Lin, my dear ancestor, stop pretending. The chairman of Kunlun Capital, Charles Lin, is your father. You warned me before never to reveal your identity. I always remembered. But now you and Ms. Shaw are getting divorced. If this investment is lost, SkyCloud is finished. He spoke while kowtowing hard. Chairman Lin, I was wrong. I failed to recognize a true mountain. I'm just a dog. You are magnanimous. Please don't lower yourself to my level. Please don't terminate the investment because of me. Boom. The crowd boiled completely. Did I hear that correctly? The chairman of Kunlun Capital is his father? So he isn't a kept man loser. He's the heir of a top wealthy family? My God, this is more dramatic than a TV show. So SkyCloud's 1.5 billion financing came from him? Serena Shaw had a living god of wealth at home and chose to humiliate him for an assistant? She slapped away her own golden rice bowl with her own hands. The discussion and mocking laughter rushed toward Serena like a tide. She stood frozen, shaking as if she might collapse at any moment. She looked at me, her eyes full of shock, regret, and even a trace of pleading. Jianshun, is what he said true? Her voice was hoarse. I did not answer. I simply shook Zach's hand off gently. I crouched down and looked at the man who had just been arrogant but now was humble as dust. You said earlier that I didn't deserve your apology, right? Zach trembled violently. As if remembering something, he suddenly began slapping himself like mad. Slap. 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 Every hit used full force. Chairman Lin, I was wrong. My mouth is rotten. I'm not human. Please treat me like a fart and let me go. Soon his face swelled like a pig's head, blood seeping from the corner of his mouth. I watched quietly until he could barely continue. Only then did I speak slowly. You asked just now whether that investment would be terminated? Zach froze, then looked at me with desperate hope. Serena also held her breath, staring at me nervously. I stood, straightened my wrinkled suit, and looked around the banquet hall. Finally, my gaze landed on Serena's bloodless face. I smiled faintly. My voice rang clearly through the entire room. Of course. From this moment on, Kunlun Capital and every affiliated company under my name will permanently terminate all cooperation with SkyCloud Technologies. Additionally, in the name of Kunlun Capital, I will notify all partners in the industry. Anyone who dares invest even 1 cent in SkyCloud Technologies will be making an enemy of Kunlun Capital. My words struck everyone's heart like thunder. This was no longer merely terminating investment. This was a total blacklist. This was driving SkyCloud Technologies into a dead end. No, Serena let out a desperate cry. She stumbled toward me, trying to grab my hand. Jinshin, don't. You can't do this. SkyCloud is my life's work. You can't destroy it. I stepped back, avoiding her touch. Your life's work? I sneered. Serena Shaw, ask yourself honestly. Without me, without Kunlun Capital clearing the road behind you, introducing resources to you, solving crisis after crisis for you, would your so-called SkyCloud Technologies have reached this point? Did you really think you were some business genius? All your success was nothing more than the smooth road I paved for you. I could lift you into the sky. And I can make you fall. After saying that, I no longer looked at her face full of regret and despair. I turned and strode out of the banquet hall under the complex, fearful gazes of everyone present. Behind me came Serena's heartbreaking cries and Zach's dog-like wails. But none of it had anything to do with me anymore. After walking out of the hotel entrance, the night wind blew across my face. The burning pain on my cheek became clearer. I touched my cheek and took out my phone. Then I dialed a number. Hello, Dad. From the other end came a steady, dignified voice. Have you finally figured it out? I have. I looked at the moon and exhaled gently. This 3-year one-man show of self-touching sacrifice should end. I'll return to the company tomorrow. Please arrange things for me. Good. Your position remains vice president. The Stardust plan you were responsible for before should also be restarted. I understand. After hanging up, I hailed a taxi and gave an address that had been sealed away for a long time. That was my real home. The next day, I woke up in the oversized bed of my city center penthouse duplex. Sunlight poured through the massive floor-to-ceiling windows, lighting the whole room. I had not returned to this place for 3 years. Since marrying Serena, I moved into her tiny 2-bedroom apartment, supposedly to experience the warmth of ordinary married life. Looking back now, that had only been my own ridiculous fantasy. I changed into a hand-tailored Armani suit and wore the Patek Philippe Celestial watch Serena once dismissed as street-stall junk. Then I walked into the Kunlun Capital headquarters building that I had not entered in years. Mr. Vice President Lin? The receptionist's eyes widened when she saw me. The folder in her hand fell to the floor. I smiled gently at her. Long time no see. I had returned. The news swept through every corner of the company like wind. When I entered the Best View vice president's office kept specially for me, my private assistant team was already lined up outside. At the front stood a sharp, capable woman with gold-rimmed glasses. Her name was Qin Zheng. Mr. Lin, welcome back. Qin Zheng bowed slightly. Her tone was respectful, but her eyes carried a barely hidden excitement. All business reports from the past 3 years and the latest progress of the Stardust plan have been placed on your desk. Thank you. I nodded, walked into the office, and sat in the familiar Italian leather chair. Everything was exactly as it had been when I left. As if I had only gone on a long business trip. Never really left. I picked up the documents on my desk and quickly entered work mode. The Stardust plan was Kunlun Capital's most important strategic layout for the next decade. It aimed to invest in and support the most promising domestic artificial intelligence and life science companies, building a technology empire of our own. I personally planned and led this project. 3 years ago, for Serena, I temporarily shelved it and handed it to other teams. Now I had returned. And this massive plan would return to my control. SkyCloud Technologies had originally been an insignificant piece on the Stardust chessboard. I chose it partly because of Serena. And partly because it truly had certain value in chip technology. My original plan had been to invest $1.5 billion, gain control of SkyCloud, and integrate it into the Stardust plan. Unfortunately, Serena had destroyed that chance with her own hands. Knock, knock. The office door was knocked. Come in. Qin Zheng entered, her expression slightly strange. Mr. Lin, downstairs Ms. Serena Shaw is asking to see you. She says she has something extremely important to discuss with you in person. I did not lift my head and continued flipping through documents. No. But she said if you refuse to see her, she will keep waiting downstairs. Then let her wait. My tone did not ripple. Also, notify everyone. From today on, Serena Shaw, Zakyu, and every employee of SkyCloud Technologies are all placed on Kunlun Capital's blacklist. They are never allowed to step into this building. A flash of satisfaction passed through Qin Zheng's eyes. Yes. I'll handle it immediately. After she left, the office returned to silence. I carried my coffee to the window and looked down at the busy street below. At the entrance downstairs, I saw that familiar figure. Serena wore a professional suit, her hair slightly messy. Her face was haggard and anxious. 2 security guards stopped her outside while she kept trying to explain something. She was no longer the radiant career woman from last night. Now she looked miserable and helpless. That was reality. When she had my wholehearted support, she was the high and mighty Miss Shaw. When she lost all of that, she did not even have the qualifications to see me. I withdrew my gaze coldly and returned to the desk. For someone I had decided to abandon, would no longer have any pity. I worked through the entire day, handling mountains of accumulated business. At dusk, Qin Zheng entered again. Mr. Lin, Miss Shaw is still downstairs. It's raining. She didn't bring an umbrella. She looks close to collapsing. I lifted my head and glanced outside. At some point, rain had begun pouring heavily. I fell silent for a moment. Qin Zheng, do you think I should go see her? Qin Zheng froze, then answered seriously. From a rational perspective, you and she have nothing to do with each other anymore. SkyCloud has also been removed from our investment list. Seeing her or not will have no impact on company strategy. But from an emotional perspective, she paused carefully, watching my expression. I know you once loved her very much. I laughed self-mockingly. Yes. Once. I loved her enough to give up everything. Enough to tolerate all her coldness and neglect. Enough to endure her assistant's public humiliation. But that love died completely in that loud slap last night. You're right. I stood and picked up the coat from the chair. It's time to end things properly. Holding a black umbrella, I walked out of Kunlun Capital's building. Cold rain hit the umbrella with sharp cracks, splashing water everywhere. Serena stood not far away, soaked completely. Rain streamed down her hair and cheeks, making her look utterly miserable. Seeing me, light suddenly burst from her eyes. She staggered toward me, but because she had stood too long, her legs went soft and she nearly fell. Instinctively, I almost reached out to help. But my hand stopped in midair. I only looked at her coldly and tilted the umbrella slightly toward myself. Jianchen, she ran to me. Rain and tears mixed together, ruining her delicate makeup. I know I was wrong. I really know. She grabbed my arm, voice full of pleading. I shouldn't have indulged Zach. I shouldn't have said those things. And I shouldn't have signed that divorce agreement. Let's not divorce, okay? Let's remarry. Let's go back to the way things were. Her words made me laugh. The way things were? I looked at her and asked. Like before, when I cooked for you at home while you ordered me around outside? When your assistant could freely humiliate me, and I had to be threatened with divorce just for talking back? Serena Shaw, do you think we can still go back? My words pierced her heart like knives. Her face grew even paler. No, that's not it, Jianchen. I admit I wasn't good enough to you before. I ignored your feelings. But I swear, I'll never do it again. I'll fire Zach. I'll spend all my time with you. I'll be a good wife. As long as you take back what you said. As long as you continue investing in SkyCloud Technologies. At the end, she finally revealed her true purpose. She was not trying to save me. She was trying to save her company. Her career. The final remaining warmth in my heart disappeared completely. Serena, do you know something? I looked at her calmly. 3 years ago, when I proposed to you, my father gave me 2 choices. First, publicly reveal my identity and let you marry into the Lin family in glory, becoming the wealthy wife every woman envied. Second, hide my identity and support your dream in my own way. I chose the second. Because you said you didn't want to rely on anyone. You wanted to create your own career through your own efforts. I respected your choice. So I willingly stepped behind the scenes, cleared every obstacle for you, and let you stand beneath the spotlight enjoying flowers and applause. I thought you were the different woman I was looking for. A woman who did not chase vanity, only self-worth. Now I see I was wrong. You are no different from those women who sharpen their heads trying to marry into wealthy families. The only difference is that their goal is clear. You, however, want the riches of a wealthy family while also keeping the reputation of an independent woman. Serena, you are too greedy. Every sentence made Serena's body tremble harder. She opened her mouth, wanting to argue. But not a word came out. Because everything I said was true. So don't waste your effort anymore. I slowly pulled my arm from her hand. The divorce agreement has been signed. Legally, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. As for SkyCloud Technologies, I paused and looked at the hope in her eyes. Then I cruelly finished the sentence. I have notified the legal department. We will sue SkyCloud for providing false information and fraudulently obtaining investment. Kunlun Capital will recover all funds previously invested and demand triple penalty damages. What? Serena was struck as if by lightning. Recover investment? Triple damages? SkyCloud was already in a cash-burning stage. The funds in its accounts would not last long. If Kunlun Capital truly did that, it would be pulling the last plank from under the pot. SkyCloud would not even have the chance for normal liquidation. It would collapse directly into debt. No. Lin Jianshan, you can't be this cruel. She finally broke down and screamed hysterically. We were husband and wife. Do you really have to go this far? Husband and wife? I sneered. When you allowed your assistant to slap me in public, whatever affection existed between us was broken. Serena Shaw, this is the ending you deserve. After saying that, I ignored her cries and turned, walking decisively into the rain. Lin Jianshan, stop. You demon. You'll regret this. You will definitely regret it. Behind me, Serena's curses were drowned completely by the heavier rain. I did not look back. Because I knew my future would no longer contain her. In the following days, I threw myself completely into restarting the Stardust plan. This massive commercial blueprint had been stalled for 3 years because of my departure. There were too many matters to reorganize and decide. I worked more than 16 hours a day. Endless meetings. Endless documents. Endless partners to meet. Busyness is the best medicine for pain. News about Serena and SkyCloud still reached me from time to time. Kunlun Capital's announcement of withdrawal and lawsuit caused a huge shock in the industry. SkyCloud's stock price collapsed. For several days in a row, it hit the limit down. Its market value evaporated by more than 80%. The company's cash chain broke completely. Banks came to collect debts. Suppliers stopped shipments. Core technical staff began being poached in large groups by competitors. The business tower I had personally built for her was collapsing rapidly in visible form. Serena was completely trapped in chaos. She tried every method to save herself. She went to the former partners who once called her brothers and sisters. But the moment they heard Kunlun Capital's name, everyone avoided her. She even found my parents. That day, I was in the middle of an international video conference when my mother called. I hung up several times, but she kept calling. I had no choice but to pause the meeting and go to the lounge. Mom, I'm in a meeting. Is something urgent? My mother sounded troubled. Jianshan, Serena came to our house. I frowned slightly. What is she doing there? She's kneeling in the living room. She's begging your father and me to ask you to spare her. She said she knows she was wrong. She asked us to consider the past and give her another chance. My mother's tone carried pity. Jianshan, Mom knows you were wronged, but leave a line in life so people can meet again later. SkyCloud Technologies is still something she built over many years. Destroying it like this, isn't it too much of a pity? I was silent. I knew my mother's heart was soft. Serena's bitter tactic had chosen the right target. For 3 years of marriage, though Serena was cold to me, she had always acted like a gentle, virtuous daughter-in-law before my parents. My parents had always been satisfied with her. If not for what happened at the annual banquet, they might never know how their proud daughter-in-law treated their son in private. Mom, you and Dad don't interfere in this. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice calm. This is between her and me. I will handle it. But no buts. I interrupted her, my tone allowing no argument. If you still recognize me as your son, throw her out. Tell her the Lin family does not accept such a lowly daughter-in-law. Then I hung up. I was afraid that if I said one more word, would lose control of my emotions. Serena was always like this. She never learned to take responsibility. She only knew how to use cheap methods to gain sympathy and moral blackmail. She thought that by finding my parents, she could make me soften. She understood me too little. Or perhaps she had never truly tried to understand me. I returned to the meeting room and said to all executives present, meeting paused. Now we discuss another matter. Qin Zheng, immediately assemble the top acquisition team. Target, SkyCloud Technologies. Within 3 days, I want all of SkyCloud's core technology, patents, and talent acquired at the lowest possible price. As for that empty shell company and its huge debt, I paused. A cold curve appeared at the corner of my mouth. Leave it for Ms. Shaw to slowly enjoy. Kunlun Capital moved like lightning. Before Qin Zheng's elite team, the already crumbling SkyCloud had no ability to resist. They first contacted SkyCloud's core technical team. These top engineers were people I had personally recruited for Serena years ago. They naturally trusted me, or more precisely, Kunlun Capital. With the generous compensation and broad platform offered by Kunlun, nearly the entire core team resigned together and joined the Stardust Plan RD Center. After pulling the firewood from under the pot came the cleanup. The acquisition team used SkyCloud's debt crisis to pressure suppliers and banks owed money. At extremely low prices, they acquired those debts in packages, thereby controlling SkyCloud's lifeline. Finally, as creditors, they applied to the court for asset preservation and forced execution against SkyCloud. The most valuable chip patents and RD equipment naturally entered Kunlun Capital under the name of debt repayment. The entire process was clean, decisive, and flawless. When Serena returned from my parents' house in despair, what awaited her was a completely hollowed-out mess. The employees were gone. The technology was gone. The patents had changed owners. The accounts still carried hundreds of millions in debt. The business empire she had fought for nearly 10 years to build collapsed into nothing in less than a week. I saw Serena's current situation in Qin Zheng's report. At the end of the report was a photo. In the photo, Serena sat collapsed inside the CEO office she once loved. The office was a mess, documents scattered across the floor. She wore the same professional suit that had been soaked by rain and dried, covered in wrinkles. Her hair was messy. Her eyes were empty. She looked like a puppet whose soul had been pulled out. No trace remained of her former confidence and arrogance. Mr. Lin, Serena Shaw has filed for bankruptcy. Qin Zheng stood before me and reported calmly. The court has accepted it and will enter bankruptcy liquidation. However, all personal assets under her name, including real estate and cars, are insufficient to repay the company's huge debts. In other words, she not only lost her company, she also personally went bankrupt and now carries debt she may never repay in this lifetime. I listened quietly, face expressionless. I understand. I waved, signaling Qin Zheng to leave. Only I remained in the office. I looked outside as the city's neon lights began turning on one by one. I thought that when I heard this news, I would feel the pleasure of revenge. Strangely, my heart was calm. No joy. No sorrow. It was as if I were hearing a story unrelated to me. Perhaps from the moment I signed the divorce agreement, Serena Shaw and everything related to her had already died in my heart. My phone vibrated. A text from an unfamiliar number. Lin Jianshan, you won. You destroyed everything I had. Are you satisfied now? I'll wait for you where we first met. If you still remember even a shred of old affection, come see me one last time. I stared at the message for a long time. Where we first met. It was a small CAF near the university district called Timelight. Back then, I was a wealthy heir pretending to be an ordinary student. And she was a poor girl working in the CAF to gather tuition. I remembered that afternoon. The sunlight was perfect. She wore a faded white dress and tied her hair in a simple ponytail. The loose hair around her forehead was dyed gold by the sun. She carried coffee carefully past me but accidentally tripped. The entire cup spilled onto me. She was terrified, bowing and apologizing repeatedly, her eyes red. I looked at her panic, and the way she stubbornly refused to cry. By some strange impulse, I smiled. I said it was fine. Just buy me another cup. Our story began with that cup of coffee. I once thought it was a beautiful encounter. Now, perhaps it had been a carefully arranged calculation from the beginning. I deleted the text and threw the phone aside. I would not go. I did not want to give her any chance to cling to me. Let everything in the past finally pass completely. I thought my story with Serena Shaw should end there. But unexpectedly, a few days later, I heard news of her again. This time, in a way I had not expected at all. That day, I was hosting an internal seminar about the second phase of the Stardust Plan. Halfway through the meeting, Qin Zheng walked in with a grave expression and whispered into my ear. "Mr. Lin, something happened. Serena Shaw published a long essay online." My heart sank. I immediately paused the meeting and had Qin Zheng hand me the tablet. It was an article posted on social media. The title was shocking: "The Tearful Testimony of an Independent Woman, a Wealthy Heir's Marriage Scam and Destruction." The article was written in Serena's voice, thousands of words long. In it, she portrayed herself as an independent woman unafraid of power, bravely chasing her dreams. As for me, I became a calculated wealthy villain who played with feelings. She said that from the beginning, I hid my identity and approached her as an ordinary person, cheating her feelings and trust. After marriage, I revealed a strong desire for control, trying to turn her into a canary dependent on me, suppressing her career and blocking her development. The conflict at the annual banquet was described as me intentionally starting trouble because I was jealous that her assistant was more capable than me. She admitted she had not handled things properly at the time, but claimed it was because she was too eager to protect the career she had worked so hard to build and did not want to offend important partners because of my unreasonable behavior. And I, according to her, used that incident as an excuse to reveal my ugly true face. Not only did I force her into divorce, I also used family power to violently suppress her company, ultimately making her lose everything and fall into debt. At the end of the article, she wrote in an extremely tragic tone, "I lost. I lost completely. I lost to this era ruled by capital. I lost to the man who could cover the sky with one hand. With the lesson written in my blood, I warn every sister still struggling: never believe men's sweet words, and never dream of marrying into a wealthy family. That is not heaven. That is hell." Today, I choose to make all of this public, not to win sympathy, but to seek justice for myself. And to speak once for all the weak people bullied by capital. The article was emotional and extremely inflammatory. It perfectly grabbed several sensitive social topics: class conflict, gender conflict, capital bullying. Within hours, it was shared crazily and rushed to the top of the trending list. The comments were full of attacks against me. Disgusting. Does being rich mean he can do anything? He scammed her into marriage and ruined her life. Lin Jianshan is a modern villain. A fighter jet among scumbags. I feel so bad for Ms. Shaw. Such an excellent independent woman was destroyed by capital. Boycott Kunlun Capital. Boycott Lin Jianshan. Get him out of business. Some netizens even dug up my photos and Kunlun Capital's address through various channels, calling for people to protest at the company entrance. For a time, I became the enemy of the entire internet. Kunlun Capital fell into an unprecedented public opinion crisis. "Mr. Lin, PR is being overwhelmed with calls. The stock price is also starting to fluctuate sharply. We must act immediately." Qin Zheng's face was full of anxiety. I set down the tablet. My face was terrifyingly dark. I had underestimated Serena. I thought she had reached the end of the road and could no longer stir any waves. I did not expect her to play this public opinion war. She was smart. She knew she could no longer defeat me in business. So she chose this method to destroy my reputation and shake Kunlun Capital's foundation. She wanted to use public pressure to force me to submit. Good. Very good. I laughed from anger. Since she wants to play, I'll play to the end. I stood. Coldness flashed in my eyes. Qin Zheng, notify PR. In 2 hours, I will hold a globally live-streamed press conference. Also, prepare every piece of information we previously collected on Serena Shaw and SkyCloud Technologies. Especially the complete surveillance footage from the annual banquet. Didn't she ask for justice? Then I'll let the entire world see who truly has no shame and reverses black and white. The news that Kunlun Capital would hold a press conference to respond directly to the marriage scam scandal detonated the internet the moment it was released. Countless reporters and netizens flooded into the live stream room, waiting for this century-level confrontation. 2 hours later, I appeared at the press conference on time. I wore a dark suit without a tie. My expression was calm, without the slightest nervousness. I brought no script. Alone, I walked under the spotlight and sat at the speaker's table. At the beginning, I did not rush to explain. Instead, I had staff play a video. It was the complete surveillance footage from the banquet hall that night. From Zach deliberately provoking me and pouring wine over me, to him slapping my face under the guise of wiping the stain. From Serena coldly watching without doing anything, to her threatening divorce when I prepared to fight back. Then finally, Zach's loud slap and the look of disgust on Serena's face. Every detail had been captured clearly by high-definition cameras. The video was long. The press hall was silent. Only the insulting sounds from the footage, the repeated light slaps against my face, and that final crisp slap echoed through the room. When the video finished, the live stream comments froze for a moment. Then they erupted like a tsunami. Holy crap. Reversal. The assistant started everything. That wasn't wiping wine stains. That was public humiliation. And Serena Shaw just watched? If you hit back, we divorce. I'm sick. Is that something a normal wife says? So Serena's essay was completely twisting facts. She played victim after attacking first. I take back what I said about Mr. Lin. I'm on his side now. If he could still endure that, would he still be a man? Before the video evidence, public opinion flipped instantly. Looking at the flashing cameras and the shocked faces of reporters, I slowly picked up the microphone. Friends from the media, netizens watching online, good evening. I believe the video has already explained everything. I do not know what Ms. Serena Shaw defines as an independent woman. But to me, a truly independent woman must first have an independent personality and clear self-awareness. Not someone who enjoys the road her husband paved for her while despising him for blocking her way. Not someone who indulges her subordinate in publicly humiliating her husband, then packages herself afterward as an innocent victim. In her article, Ms. Shaw accused me of marriage fraud. She accused me of using capital to suppress her. Regarding marriage fraud, I admit that I hid my family background from the beginning. But my original intention was that I did not want our relationship mixed with money. I naively believed I had encountered pure love. As for suppressing her with capital, I cannot agree. Kunlun Capital is a commercial institution, not a charity. Every investment we make is based on strict evaluation of the project and the founder. When a founder can abandon even basic marital affection and basic human boundaries, we have sufficient reason to question her character and the future of the company she leads. Withdrawal, recovery, acquisition, all of it is normal operation under business rules. If that is called suppression, then Ms. Shaw's understanding of business is far too shallow. My voice spread through the live stream to every corner of the world. Calm. Firm. Neither humble nor arrogant. Finally, I want to say one thing. I stood and bowed slightly toward the camera. Because of my personal matter, a large amount of public resources has been consumed, and negative impact has been caused to society. For this, I offer my sincerest apology. From today onward, I will resign from all duties as Vice President of Kunlun Capital and temporarily step out of the public eye to reflect deeply. I hope this matter ends here. Thank you. After speaking, I did not give reporters any chance to ask questions. I turned and left the press conference under countless complicated gazes. I chose retreat as advancement. Because I knew this farce no longer needed to continue. Serena had already lost completely. The moment she chose lies to gain sympathy, she had already lost until nothing remained. The effect of the press conference was immediate. With the complete video released and my direct response, Serena's carefully built victim persona collapsed instantly. Her emotional essay became a massive joke. The more people had sympathized with her before, the more they now despised her. Online insults and mockery overwhelmed her. Best Actress of the Year, Serena Shaw. Schemy, fake innocent, shameless, all the worst words fit her. She destroyed herself and still tried to drag her ex-husband down. Stupid and vicious. Mr. Lin resigning at the end shows real responsibility. His level is completely different. Serena's reputation was ruined completely. She had lost her career, lost love, and lost the basic dignity and credibility of a social person. She became a rat everyone wanted to beat. After announcing my resignation, I gave myself a long vacation. I went to many places and saw many landscapes. I went skiing in Switzerland, diving in the Maldives, watching the Great Migration on the African savanna. I tried to use travel to empty the memories of the past 3 years. To say a final goodbye to that humble, self-deluding Lin Jianchen. The last stop of my journey was the city where we first met. As if guided by fate, I walked to the small CAF called Timelight. The CAF looked mostly the same. Only the owner had changed. I ordered a latte and sat at the same window seat where we first met. The sunlight was still beautiful. It fell through the glass and warmed my body. Everything seemed to return to the beginning. Only people had changed. "Sir, your coffee." A timid voice sounded beside my ear. I looked up and saw a young girl carrying coffee, standing carefully beside my table. She looked only a little over 20. She wore a plain CAF uniform and still had youthful innocence on her face. Her eyes were clear and bright, like a spring you could see to the bottom. For a moment, I seemed to see Serena many years ago. No. She was purer than Serena back then. Cleaner. She did not have that hidden hunger for success and ambition beneath stubbornness. "Thank you." I smiled at her. The girl's face reddened slightly, and she lowered her head shyly. "You're welcome." She placed the coffee down and prepared to leave. At that moment, an unwelcome guest burst into the CAF. It was a man in his 30s with a rough face and reeking of alcohol. The moment he entered, he shouted loudly, "Where's the owner? Get out here." Everyone in the CAF was startled. The girl who had brought me coffee turned pale and hurried over. "Brother, why are you here again? I told you the shop has no money right now." "No money?" The man sneered, pushed her aside, and strode to the cashier. He yanked open the drawer violently. "I don't care. I have to get money today. I owe a mountain of gambling debt out there. If I don't pay, they'll break my legs." He grabbed the scattered cash in the drawer and stuffed it into his pocket. "That's it? You think I'm a beggar?" Clearly dissatisfied, he scanned the CAF. Finally, his gaze landed on me. Or more precisely, on the Patek Philippe watch on my wrist. His eyes lit up instantly. "Kid, that watch looks pretty nice." He staggered toward me, an ill-intentioned smile on his face. "Lend it to me for a couple days, how about that?" The girl was terrified. She rushed over and blocked him. "Brother, don't mess around. He's a customer. Get lost." The man impatiently shoved her aside. The girl fell to the floor, and her forehead struck the corner of a table. Blood immediately seeped out. I frowned. I stood and helped her up. "Are you all right?" She shook her head, tears circling in her eyes. "I'm sorry, sir. I caused trouble for you." Looking at the wound on her forehead and the eyes struggling not to cry, something soft in my heart was touched. I turned and looked coldly at the man. "Put the money down." Then apologized to her. My voice was not loud, but it carried undeniable authority. The man froze for a moment, then laughed loudly as if hearing the world's biggest joke. "Kid, who do you think you are? You dare meddle in my business? Tired of living?" As he spoke, he swung a fist at me. Facing his punch, I did not dodge. At the instant before the wind of his fist reached my face, I turned sideways and accurately caught his wrist. Then I twisted hard. "Ah!" The man screamed like a slaughtered pig. His entire arm was forced behind his back at a strange angle. Cold sweat covered his forehead, and his face turned white. "Let go. It hurts." I increased my strength slightly. "Apologize." I spoke coldly. The man gritted his teeth from pain but still refused to soften. "Do you know who I am? I run this whole area. If you dare touch me, I'll make sure you can't leave this street." "Really?" I smiled. Then I raised my knee and struck his stomach hard. The man grunted and folded like a shrimp, his face twisted in pain. I let go. He collapsed to the floor, retching non-stop. The other customers had already retreated far away in fear. Someone secretly called the police. The girl stood frozen, staring at me with shock and a trace of admiration. I ignored everyone's gaze. I crouched in front of the man and patted his pain-twisted face. "Now can we talk properly?" Fear finally appeared in the man's eyes. He realized he had kicked an iron plate today. "Big brother, I was wrong. I failed to recognize a true master. Please forgive me this once." He tremblingly took the money from his pocket, even adding some of his own coins, and tried to hand it to me. "Here, all the money is here. It's all yours." I did not take it. I only pointed at the girl. "Return the money to her. Then apologize." The man dared not disobey. He crawled and knelt before the girl, stuffed the money into her hand, and began kowtowing. "Sister, I was wrong. I'm not human. I'll never dare again. Please forgive me." The girl looked at him, then at me, at a loss. At that moment, the CAF door opened. Several uniformed police officers entered. Who called the police? What happened? Seeing the police, the man on the floor seemed to see a savior. Officer, save me. He hit me. He tried to kill me. He pointed at me, reversing right and wrong. The lead officer, a middle-aged man with experience, looked at the scene, then at me, frowning. Did you hit him? Yes. I admitted calmly. Self-defense. Whether it's self-defense is not for you to decide. The officer's tone was stern. Come with us and explain everything clearly. I nodded and did not resist. I knew this kind of matter had to follow procedure. Just as I was about to leave with the police, the girl suddenly gathered courage and stood out. Officer, it wasn't his fault. It was my brother. He came to the shop to steal money and tried to rob this gentleman's watch. This gentleman acted to protect me. The shop has surveillance. It can prove I'm telling the truth. The middle-aged officer looked at the girl, then at the man on the floor, understanding flashing in his eyes. All right. We will check the surveillance. However, if there was physical conflict, both of you still need to come with us to make statements. And so, I and that rotten gambler were taken into the police car together. Before leaving, I glanced back at the girl. She stood at the CAF entrance with a bandage on her forehead, watching me anxiously. Seeing my gaze, she waved hard. Her lips moved silently. I understood what she said. Thank you. I smiled faintly and turned away. This journey seemed to be getting more and more interesting. At the police station, the matter was resolved more smoothly than I expected. The CAF surveillance video clearly recorded everything. The man was not only suspected of attempted robbery, but also disturbance and intentional injury. As for me, I was judged to have acted in self-defense, with an element of righteous assistance. After finishing the statement, the officers even praised me, saying young people with a sense of justice like me were rare. I only smiled and said little. When I left the station, it was already dark. At the entrance, I saw a familiar figure. It was the CAF girl. She stood under the streetlight, squatting with her arms around her knees like a kitten waiting for its owner. When she saw me come out, she stood immediately and ran toward me. Are you okay? She looked up at me with concern. Did the police make things difficult for you? I'm fine. I shook my head. Why are you still here? What about the shop? The girl scratched her head shyly. I was worried about you, so I closed the shop and came to check. I was afraid you'd get into trouble because of me. Her eyes were sincere and clear, without a trace of impurity. For some reason, my heart softened. My name is Lin Jianshen. What about you? I took the initiative to extend my hand. The girl froze, then gently shook my hand. Her hand was small and cold. My name is Yu. An as in peace. You as in a quiet corner. Yu. A special and beautiful name. Thank you for today. Yu looked at me seriously. If not for you, I really don't know what I would have done. My brother, he's been like this ever since he got addicted to gambling. As she spoke, her eyes reddened again. This CAF is the only thing my parents left me. I don't want him to destroy it. Looking at her tearful expression, I sighed. Has the wound on your forehead been treated? Yu shook her head. I'll take you to the hospital. No. It's only a small injury. It's fine. She waved quickly. You must go. My tone did not allow refusal. If it leaves a scar, you won't look as pretty. My words made Yu's face turn red all the way to her ears. She lowered her head and dared not look at me. I hailed a taxi and took her to the nearest hospital. Registration. Cleaning the wound. Bandaging. The doctor said the wound was not deep but needed care to avoid infection. By the time we left the hospital, it was very late. I'll take you home. I looked at the white gauze on her forehead. That's too much trouble. It's not. I insisted. Yu's home was in an old alley. The building was an old tube-style apartment block, the hallway packed with random items and dimly lit. I walked her downstairs. Thank you so much today. Before parting, Yu thanked me again. To show my thanks, tomorrow I'll treat you to coffee. I'll make it myself. Our shop's specialty. She looked at me with expectation. Seeing those clear eyes, I nodded almost without thinking. Okay. After returning to the hotel, I lay in bed, but Yu kept appearing in my mind. Her stubbornness. Her kindness. Her innocence. like a fresh breeze blowing away the gloom in my heart caused by Serena. Perhaps coming to this city was not only for saying goodbye to the past. It was also to welcome a new beginning. The next day, I arrived at Timelight CAF as promised. And you wore a pale yellow dress today. Her long hair fell over her shoulders. The bandage on her forehead was cleverly covered by a cute hairpin. Seeing me, she immediately showed a bright smile. You're here. Sit down. She led me to the same window seat from yesterday, then flew behind the counter like a happy butterfly. Soon, a cup of fragrant coffee was placed before me. On the surface was a cute smiling face drawn in milk foam. Try it. This is my special blend, Corner Light. You can only drink it here in the whole world. She looked at me expectantly. I lifted the cup and took a sip. The coffee was rich and mellow, with a faint floral fruity fragrance and a sweet aftertaste. It's delicious. I praised sincerely. Better than any coffee I've had in Michelin restaurants. My praise made Anu's eyes curve like two crescents. As long as you like it. She sat opposite me, propping her chin in her hands, quietly watching me drink. Sunlight fell through the window onto her face, covering her in a soft halo. Years quiet and peaceful. Perhaps that was what this felt like. We talked a lot. Her CAF. Her parents. Her disappointing brother. My travels. My past. Of course, regarding my family background and that marriage with Serena, I only brushed over them. I did not want those complicated things to stain this pure, beautiful moment. Oh, right. There's something I need to tell you. And you suddenly remembered something and took an envelope from behind the counter. The police came yesterday. They said my brother is suspected in several cases and will be detained for a while. He asked me to give this to you. I took the envelope and opened it. Inside was an apology letter and an IOU for $7,500. In the letter, Anu's brother wrote crookedly, expressing deep regret and promising to change. The IOU was for compensation to me for emotional damage and medical expenses. Looking at the IOU, I did not know whether to laugh or cry. Where would he get $7,500? Anu's face reddened. I made him write it. I know you definitely don't lack this little money, but it's our sincerity. And the price he should pay. Don't worry. I'll repay this for him. Every month, I'll take a portion of the CAF income and slowly pay you back. She looked at me, her eyes firm. Looking at her serious expression, warmth flowed through my heart. In front of her, I tore the IOU apart. What are you doing? Anu grew anxious. I said I would definitely pay it back. I don't want your money. I smiled at her. I want you to repay me another way. Huh? Anu froze, confused. From today on, I'll come here every day for a cup of coffee. Until I feel that I've drunk back the $7,500. I looked at her and spoke word by word. Anu's face instantly turned bright red. She lowered her head, playing with the corner of her dress. After a long time, she gave a tiny hum. That shy look was unbearably cute. The smile at the corner of my mouth deepened. My original plan had been to leave the city tomorrow. But now, I decided to stay. For this one-of-a-kind cup of Corner Light. And for the girl in front of me who made my heart move again. The following days were simple and pleasant. Every day, I appeared at Timelight CAF on time, ordered a cup of Corner Light, and sat at that fixed seat reading or handling some remote work. Whenever Anu was not busy, she would sit opposite me and chat. Our relationship warmed rapidly in this ordinary, gentle way. I discovered that Anu was a very interesting and talented girl. She not only made all kinds of delicious coffee. She could also draw and play guitar. The childlike illustrations hanging on the CAF walls were all her work. Sometimes, when there were few customers, she would hold an old wooden guitar, sit in the sunlight, and sing softly. Her voice was clean, like a mountain spring washing the heart. I often became lost listening to it. I had never thought I would fall in love with a life so simple it was almost plain. Compared with the cold, suspicious, calculating marriage I had with Serena over the past 3 years, everything before me was so real it felt like a dream. A dream I hoped never to wake from. One afternoon, I was reading an industry report about new energy vehicles when Qingjing suddenly called. Her tone sounded anxious. Mr. Lin, where are you right now? I'm outside. What happened? Something happened. Qingjing lowered her voice. Serena Shaw's parents brought a group of relatives to the company to make trouble. My brows immediately furrowed. What do they want? They say you ruined their daughter's life and demand an explanation. They're holding banners and sitting at the company entrance. They brought reporters too. The downstairs area is already packed. This is causing serious damage to the company's reputation. I took a deep breath and suppressed the anger rising in my chest. The Shaw family truly was a lingering ghost. I understand. I'll come back immediately. After hanging up, I stood and prepared to leave. What's wrong? Did something happen? And you noticed something unusual and asked with concern. Some urgent company matter. I have to go back. I forced a smile. Then will you come back? And you looked at me, her eyes carrying unease and reluctance. Warmth rose in my heart. I reached out and gently rubbed her hair. Of course. When I finish handling things, I'll come back. Come back for your corner light. Only then didn't you smile again. Okay. I'll wait for you. I immediately booked the earliest flight back to the city where headquarters was located. When I arrived downstairs at Kunlun Capital, the scene was even more chaotic than I imagined. Serena's parents had brought 7 or 8 relatives. Some sat, some lay down, blocking the company entrance. They held white banners with large blood red letters, "Evil Capital forced a life to ruin. Give our daughter justice." Serena's mother sat on the ground, slapping her thighs and crying loudly. She cursed non-stop. "Lin Jianshan, you heartless beast. You ungrateful wolf. Our Serena lived with you for 3 years. Even if she made no contribution, she suffered hardship. Now that you're successful, you kick her away and bankrupt her company, forcing her into a dead end. Are you even human?" Her cries drew countless passers-by and media cameras. Flashes fired wildly. I looked at this farce, my expression dark to the extreme. I pushed through the crowd and walked directly to Serena's mother. "Auntie, long time no see." I looked down at her, my voice cold as ice. My sudden appearance silenced the crying instantly. Serena's mother froze when she saw me, then sprang up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "Lin Jianshan, you coward. You finally dare show your face." She pointed at my nose and cursed. "You made my daughter so miserable. Today, you must give us an explanation." Serena's father, a man who looked honest but had shrewd eyes, also stepped forward. "Jianshan, we were relatives once. No matter how wrong Serena was, you can't take things this far. Now her company is gone, and she's missing. As parents, how can we not worry?" They echoed each other, placing themselves on the moral high ground. The surrounding reporters immediately swarmed like sharks smelling blood. "Mr. Lin, how do you respond to Ms. Shaw's parents' accusations? Did you indeed retaliate against Ms. Shaw to the point of leaving no escape? Ms. Shaw is currently missing. Are you connected to that?" I ignored the reporters and looked coldly at the 2 old people performing so hard. "Explanation?" I sneered. "What explanation do you want?" "Simple." Serena's mother opened her mouth wide like a lion. "First, compensate our daughter's company 150 million. Second, publicly apologize to our daughter and restore her reputation. Third, find our daughter, remarry her, and live properly with her." Her words made everyone present gasp. This was not seeking justice. This was open extortion. "Finished?" I waited until she was done and asked calmly. "Finished. Good." I nodded. Then from my pocket, I took out something. A recorder. I pressed play. A conversation came out clearly. It was from before Serena and I married, when her parents came to find me. I had secretly recorded it. "Mr. Lin, our Serena has been proud since she was young. She has always wanted to build a career of her own. We know your family background is good, but we don't want Serena to marry you and become a rich wife who does nothing. So we hope you can help her in business. Of course, we won't let you give for nothing. As long as you can help Serena's company go public, we are willing to marry Serena to you. Consider it a transaction." The recording was not long. But the information inside was explosive. My marriage with Serena had been a clearly priced transaction from the beginning. For their daughter's future, Serena's parents had personally sold her to the promising stock they believed I was. And Serena clearly knew, or even silently agreed. After the recording ended, the entire scene erupted. Serena's parents' faces turned corpse-like. They never expected I would still have this evidence. You're slandering us. This is fabricated." Serena's mother was still struggling. Fabricated? I smiled and took out another document. Then is this fabricated too? It was a bank transfer record. It showed that throughout the 3 years of my marriage with Serena, I transferred $30,000 every month to her parents under the name of living expenses. Over 3 years, the total exceeded $1.05 million. Uncle. Auntie. I looked at them, my eyes devoid of warmth. I gave you $30,000 every month so you could live peacefully in retirement. Not so that you could take my money, then turn around and bite me. You say I wronged Serena. Then did you treat her right? For your greed, you sold her like merchandise. Now for money, you push her into the center of public criticism again and deny her any peace. Do you deserve to be parents? My voice became stricter with every sentence. Serena's parents were left speechless, their faces alternating blue and white. The relatives they had brought lowered their heads, not daring to speak. The reporters and passers-by looked at them with disdain. So they're bloodsuckers. With parents like this, no wonder Serena Shaw turned out that way. Shameless. They took his money and then smeared him. Call the police. This is extortion. Under everyone's pointing and muttering, Serena's parents finally could not hold on. They packed up the banner and fled in disgrace under the escort of security guards. The farce ended there. But I did not feel any pleasure watching them escape. Only sadness. For Serena. And for myself. After driving away Serena's parents, I did not feel relieved. Their words stuck in my heart like a thorn. Now her company is gone, and she's missing. Serena was missing. Although I no longer had feelings for her, thinking that she might do something foolish because of my revenge still made me uneasy. After all, we had once been husband and wife. I did not want someone to actually die. I asked Qin Zheng to use Kunlun Capital's intelligence network to find Serena. Mr. Lin, are you trying to? Qin Zheng looked at me with complicated eyes. I only want to confirm she is alive. I spoke lightly. After finding her, give her this card. I took a black bank card from my wallet. There is $750,000 inside. No password. Tell her this is the last money I will ever give her. From now on, we owe each other nothing. Qin Zheng accepted the card and nodded. I understand. After dealing with that, I immediately flew back to the city where Anyu was. When I pushed open the door of Timelight CAF again, Anyu was behind the counter, focused on brewing coffee. Hearing the door, she looked up. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up. You're back. Her smile was like winter sunshine, instantly dispersing all the gloom in my heart. I'm back. I sat on the high stool opposite her. Is everything handled? She asked while skillfully working the coffee machine. All handled. I looked at her busy profile and spoke softly. From now on, there won't be any more trouble. And you turned and smiled sweetly at me. That's good. Your corner light will be ready soon. Soon, a familiar cup of coffee with smiling face latte art was placed before me. I lifted the cup and took a sip. Still the same taste. Warm. Safe. Oh right, did you see the news? And you suddenly leaned close mysteriously. The scandal about Lin Jianchen from Kunlun Capital and his ex-wife Serena Shaw has a new update. I nearly spat out my coffee. Cough, is that so? I pretended to be casual. Yes. And you spoke with righteous anger. Serena Shaw's parents are horrible. They treated their daughter and former son-in-law like that for money. And Serena Shaw deserved it too. She had such a good man like Lin Jianchen and didn't cherish him, insisting on destroying herself. But Lin Jianchen is so handsome. Especially at the press conference. So manly. As she spoke, she took out her phone, pulled up my photo, and showed it to me. Look, look. Isn't he especially stylish? I looked at my enlarged face on her phone. Then at the girl in front of me, who looked like a fangirl. For a moment, I did not know what to say. You think he's handsome? I pointed at the phone, then at myself. And you froze. She carefully compared me with the person in the photo. Then her eyes opened wider and wider. Her mouth slowly formed an O. She pointed at me for a long time but could not complete a sentence. Seeing her dazed expression, I could not help laughing. Hello. My name is Lin Jianchen. I reintroduced myself. Lin Jianchen of Kunlun Capital. And you was frozen for a full 5 minutes. In those 5 minutes, her expression went from shock, to disbelief, to sudden realization. Finally, she slapped her forehead and let out a wail. Oh my God. What did I just say? She wanted to dig a hole and crawl into it. Eating gossip in front of the person involved, and even praising him intensely. This level of social death was epic. I looked at her expression like she wanted to die on the spot and laughed even harder. It's fine. Everything you said was true. I spoke seriously. I am indeed very handsome. Anyu's face became even redder. She covered her face, too embarrassed to look at me. Stop talking. After a long while, she slowly revealed her eyes through her fingers and looked at me carefully. So you really are that Lin Jianchen? Genuine. Then why didn't you tell me before? Because I didn't want my identity to affect the way we got along. I looked at her seriously. I was afraid that if you knew, you would become cautious around me. You would change. I like you because you are you. Not because I am Lin Jianchen. My words made her eyes tremble slightly. She looked at me and fell silent. The CAF became quiet. Only soft music flowed gently through the air. Then why tell me now? She asked softly after a long time. Because I don't want to hide anything from you anymore. I stood, walked to her, and held her hand. And you, I went through a failed marriage. That experience made me lose faith in love for a while. Until I met you. Your appearance was like light, illuminating my gray world. Your kindness, purity, and beauty all fascinate me deeply. I don't want to pretend anymore. I don't want to deceive. I want to stand before you as the truest, most complete Lin Jianchen. And you, I like you. Would you be my girlfriend? I looked into her eyes and spoke the words I had kept inside for a long time. Mist instantly appeared in Anyu's eyes. She looked at me, lips trembling slightly, as if she wanted to say something but could not. I could feel her hand trembling in mine. I knew my identity was too shocking for her. One of us was a wealthy heir worth billions. The other was an ordinary girl guarding a small CAF. Between us lay a distance like clouds and mud. Anyu finally spoke, her voice choked. I don't deserve you. She lowered her head, insecure. We are not from the same world. Who said that? I gently lifted her face so she would look into my eyes. And you, in love, there is no deserving or not deserving. There is only whether you love or not. In my eyes, you are more worthy of love than any woman in this world. Your world may be small, but it is warm and clean. My world looks large, but it is full of coldness and calculation. I am the one who needs your warmth to light up my world. So don't say you don't deserve me. You only need to tell me one thing. Do you like me? I watched her, waiting for her answer. And you looked at me. Tears finally slid from her eyes. She did not speak. She only nodded hard. Then she stood on tiptoe, and under the gaze of every customer in the CAF, gently kissed my lips. At that moment, the sunlight outside was perfect. The whole world seemed to become the background of our love. After confirming our relationship, I experienced the sweetest and most carefree period of my life. Like all couples in love, we watched movies, shopped, went to amusement parks, and rode the carousel. I was no longer the Kunlun capital heir controlling strategies from above. I was just an ordinary man who accompanied his girlfriend to claw machine arcades and roadside food stalls. And you did not change because of my identity. She remained the kind girl who could be happy all day over a delicious cup of coffee, and heartbroken over a stray cat. She never asked me for expensive gifts. The most valuable thing I gave her was probably a giant Pikachu plush toy I worked extremely hard to catch at an amusement park. She hugged that plush toy and smiled like a child. She said it was the best gift she had ever received. With her, I finally understood that happiness could be so simple. No billions in assets. No luxury food and clothing. Only two people. One heart. That was enough. One day, Qin Zheng called me. Mr. Lin, we found Ms. Shaw. Qin Zheng's tone was complicated. Where is she? In a remote mountain region, working as a volunteer teacher. That answer surprised me. I could not connect the once exquisite Serena Shaw with the words volunteer teacher. When did she go? About half a month ago, after her parents went to the company to make trouble. When our people found her, she was teaching a group of children. She looked much thinner and darker, but her mental state seemed decent. Did you give her the card? I did. But she refused it. Qin Zheng paused. She said she did not need anyone's charity. She said she wanted to use her own way to atone. She also asked me to pass you a message. What message? She said, I'm sorry. And, I wish you happiness. After hanging up, I was silent for a long time. I did not know whether Serena's change was sincere repentance or a temporary performance. But no matter what, her making such a choice was a release for me. The grudge between us could finally draw a true period. What are you thinking about? You're so lost. Anyu's voice pulled me back. She carried a plate of freshly cut fruit and sat beside me, feeding me a piece of watermelon. I opened my mouth and took a bite. Very sweet. I'm thinking how lucky I am to have met you. I looked at her sincerely. Anyu blushed. Smooth talker. She said that, but the smile in her eyes could not be hidden. There's something I want to discuss with you. I set down the book in my hand and became serious. Go ahead. I want to take you home to meet my parents. My words made Anyu stiffen instantly. The smile on her face slowly froze. Meet your parents? Her voice became dry. Isn't it too soon? It's not. I held her hand and looked at her seriously. Anyu, I'm serious. I want to marry you. I want you to become my wife. I want everyone to know you are the woman I, Lin Jianshan, will spend my life protecting. Anyu looked at me. Her eyes slowly reddened. She did not answer immediately. She stayed silent for a long time. I knew what she feared. To an ordinary girl like her, a wealthy family was a world too distant and terrifying. My story with Serena was the lesson before her. Jianshan, she looked at me, hesitating. I'm afraid your family won't like me. I'm afraid I'll end up like Serena. Her worry made my heart ache. I pulled her tightly into my arms. No. I kissed the top of her head, soft but firm. And you are different from her. She loved my identity. You love me as a person. My parents are not people who despise poverty and chase wealth. They will only be happy for me because I found real happiness. Trust me. And trust yourself. With me here, I won't let anyone hurt you. My words seemed to calm Anyu. She relaxed gradually in my arms and rubbed against me like a kitten seeking safety. Then do I need to prepare anything? She asked quietly. Like expensive gifts, or beautiful clothes? I laughed. You don't need to prepare anything. You only need to be your truest self. Because that is the version I love most. Although I repeatedly told her to relax and just be herself, the night before departure, Anyu was so nervous she almost did not sleep. She pulled out every piece of clothing in her closet, tried them on one by one, then rejected them one by one. Finally, she stood before the mirror in an ordinary white dress and asked anxiously, Is this too plain? I hugged her from behind. No. Looking at the pure girl in the mirror, like a lily in bloom, I spoke sincerely. This is beautiful. The most beautiful scenery I have ever seen. The next day, I took Anyu onto the private jet returning to the Lin family estate. When the plane landed on the estate's private runway, Anyu looked at the magnificent castle-like building outside and the endless lawn and garden. Her palms were sweating from nerves. Jianshan, if I regret it now, is it too late? She tugged at my sleeve and whispered. I tapped her nose lightly. Too late. You're already on the pirate ship. Don't think about getting off. I held her hand and led her off the plane. My parents had already been waiting at the entrance. My father, Charles Lin, the head of Kunlun Capital, was a man who dominated the business world and never allowed doubt. At this moment, he wore casual traditional clothing and had a warm smile, looking like an ordinary neighborly uncle. My mother wore an elegant qipao, gentle, graceful, and dignified. Seeing us, she immediately came forward and took Anyu's hand. You must be Anyu. What a good child. Even prettier than in the photos. Her warmth left Anyu overwhelmed. Uncle, auntie, hello. She was so nervous she could barely speak. Why still call us uncle and auntie? It's time to change. My mother glanced at me fondly. Then she removed a clear green jade bracelet from her wrist and placed it on Anyu's hand. Here. This is your gift from Mom. This is too valuable. I can't accept it. And you could tell at a glance that the bracelet was priceless and tried to take it off. Silly child. We're family. Why talk about whether to accept? My mother held her hand down. This is our Lin family heirloom. It is passed only to the eldest daughter-in-law. It suits you perfectly. And you look to me for help. I smiled reassuringly. Since Mom gave it to you, accept it. My father also spoke. All right. Don't stand at the door. Come in. He did not say much, but his eyes looking at Anu were full of satisfaction and kindness. Entering the living room, Anu was once again shocked by the Lin family's wealth. The huge crystal chandelier. Precious Persian carpets. Original paintings by Picasso and Van Gogh hanging on the walls. Any random ornament could be worth more than her CAF. She sat rigidly on the sofa, too nervous to move. My mother noticed and held her hand, chatting about ordinary matters. Her CAF. Her hobbies. My father called me into the study. This girl is good. He went straight to the point. Her eyes are clean. She is a good child. To receive such a high evaluation from my father was not easy. Dad, thank you. Thank me for what? He looked at me. This is your own choice, and also your own blessing. Last time, you chose the wrong person and suffered for it. You learned a lesson. This time, I hope you did not misjudge again. Dad, don't worry. I looked at him solemnly. And you is the person I have been looking for my whole life. My father nodded with satisfaction. That's good. Since you have decided, arrange the wedding soon. I won't interfere in young people's affairs. I have only one request. What request? Let me hold a grandchild next year. After saying that, he patted my shoulder and walked out of the study, leaving me standing there between laughter and helplessness. The days at the Lin estate were the most dreamlike and unreal days of Anu's life. She had gone from an ordinary CAF owner to the future lady of one of the world's top wealthy families. This change in identity made her excited but also frightened. Fortunately, my parents liked her very much. They had none of the arrogance of wealthy elders. They treated her like their own daughter. Every day, my mother took her through the garden, to the spa, teaching her flower arrangement and tea art. My father still did not talk much, but whenever he saw her, he smiled gently. He even took out his treasured top-grade Kopi Luwak beans for her to taste. In such a warm family atmosphere, Anu gradually let go of her unease and restraint. She began integrating into the family and occasionally even joked with my mother. Seeing her smile more and more brightly, I felt sincerely happy for her. That night, I took her to the back mountain of the estate. There was an observatory built specifically for me there. It had been my favorite place as a child. I opened the observatory dome, revealing the brilliant stars outside. Wow, it's so beautiful. And you looked at the star-filled sky and sighed sincerely. In the city, I haven't seen so many stars in a long time. Do you like it? I do. Then I'll give it to you. Huh? And you looked at me in confusion. I smiled and pointed the telescope at a spot in the sky. Look. Curious, and you leaned toward the eyepiece. Inside the telescope, a star emitting soft blue light hung quietly in the deep universe. What star is this? This is a star I named after you. From behind me, I took out a delicate velvet box. Then I knelt on one knee before Anu. I opened the box. Inside was a brilliant diamond ring. The large pink diamond shone dreamily under the starlight. Anu. I looked up at her deeply. I once thought my world would forever be covered in darkness. Until you appeared. You were like the brightest star, lighting my life and warming my soul. I want to spend my life guarding this star. I want you to be the first person I see every morning when I wake. I want you to be the last person I kiss every night before sleep. And you, will you marry me? And you covered her mouth. Tears fell like broken pearls. She looked at me. At the ring in my hand. Too moved to speak. She only nodded hard again and again. I smiled. I gently placed the ring, representing an eternal promise, onto her ring finger. It fit perfectly. I stood and held her in my arms. Under the witness of the sky full of stars, I kissed her deeply. From now on, there would be only you in my world. And the rest of my life would belong only to you. My wedding with Anu was quickly set. The preparations almost mobilized every connection and resource the Lin family had. My father's meaning was simple: hold a century wedding that would stun the whole world. He wanted everyone to know that Anu was the daughter-in-law he, Charles Lin, had personally chosen. She was the future lady of the Lin family. He wanted to use this method to build the strongest support for Anu and eliminate all possible gossip and criticism. I had no objection to my father's arrangement. My girl deserved the best in the world. The wedding location was set on a heart-shaped private island in the South Pacific purchased by the Lin family. The entire island was planted with Anu's favorite white roses. Wedding invitations were sent across the world. Everyone who received one was either a political figure, business giant, or member of royalty. Anu's wedding dress was handmade over half a year by Italy's top designer and embedded with 9,999 diamonds. The wedding ring I gave her was the world-famous 50-carat Hope Star. The luxury of this wedding exceeded everyone's imagination. The media covered it with phrases like sky-high wedding and wealthy family feast. For a time, Anu's name spread across the world. Everyone knew that this girl from an ordinary background had married love and married into wealth. She had become a real-life Cinderella. Toward all the discussion from the outside world, Anu remained calm. She told me she did not care how extravagant the wedding was or how expensive the dress was. The only thing she cared about was that the groom was me. On the eve of the wedding, Anu's brother, Ping, was released from detention. Because his crimes were not serious and he showed repentance, he had only been detained for a few months. I had people bring him to the island. When the siblings met, they hugged and cried. Ping looked at his sister, who was about to marry into wealth, his face full of guilt and self-blame. "Xiaoyu, I'm sorry." A man over 6 feet tall cried like a child. "I was too inhuman before. I made you suffer so much. Brother, it's all in the past." Anu wiped her tears and smiled. "As long as you can change, that is the best compensation for me." Ping looked at me with deep gratitude. He walked to me and bowed solemnly. "Brother-in-law, thank you. Thank you for not looking down on a family like ours. Thank you for giving Xiaoyu such happiness. My sister had a hard life since she was young. She suffered too much. From today on, I officially entrust her to you. You must treat her well. If one day you dare bully her, I, Ping, will not let you go even if I have to risk my life." His words moved me. I patted his shoulder and promised solemnly. "Don't worry. I, Lin Jianshan, guarantee with my character. I will spend my life loving her and protecting her. I will not let her suffer even the slightest grievance again." On the wedding day, the sunlight was bright and the sea breeze gentle. The entire heart-shaped island was decorated into an ocean of white. Tens of thousands of blooming roses released a refreshing fragrance. Guests arrived from all over the world. Every identity was enough to shake the world. Anu wore that one-of-a-kind wedding dress and held Ping's arm, slowly walking down the aisle covered in white petals. On her face was a happy and shy smile. Under the sunlight, she was beautiful like a fairy untouched by the mortal world. I stood at the end of the aisle, smiling as I watched my beautiful bride walk toward me step by step. My eyes and heart were filled only with her. Ping solemnly placed Anu's hand into mine. "Treat her well." His eyes were red as he reminded me. "I will." I held Anu's hand tightly and nodded solemnly to him. We stood side by side before the priest. The priest read the vows in a solemn and kind voice. "Mr. Lin Jianshan, do you take Ms. Anu before you as your lawful wife? In poverty or wealth, in health or sickness, will you love her, respect her, protect her, and never leave her for the rest of your life?" "I do." I looked into Anu's eyes and answered without hesitation. "Ms. Anu, do you take Mr. Lin Jianshan before you as your lawful husband? In poverty or wealth, in health or sickness, will you love him, respect him, support him, and never leave him for the rest of your life?" With tears in her eyes, Anu nodded happily. "I do." "Then the groom may now kiss his bride." I gently lifted Anu's veil and kissed her tenderly under the blessings and applause of all guests. At that moment, white doves flew from the top of the church. Brilliant fireworks bloomed across the blue sky. The whole world seemed to cheer for our love. During the wedding banquet, a small episode occurred. An uninvited guest appeared at the entrance. Xiaoyu. The man who had once been arrogant and slapped me in public. Now he wore a cheap suit washed until faded. His hair was messy. His beard unshaven. He looked poor and defeated. Security guards stopped him outside. He did not make trouble. From far away, he bowed deeply in my direction. Then he turned and left quietly. I saw him. And you saw him too. He's someone irrelevant. I spoke lightly. Then I lifted my glass and smiled gently at Anu. "Wife, it's time for us to toast." Anu looked at me and smiled too. She took my arm, and we walked together toward the guests waiting to bless us. People of the past and matters of the past, let them scatter with the wind. Cherishing the person before your eyes is what truly matters. Married life was sweet, like soaking in honey. I kept my promise and resigned from all positions at Kunlun capital, using all my time to accompany you. Together, we traveled around the world on a honeymoon that lasted half a year. We kissed beneath the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Watched the most beautiful sunset in Santorini. Soaked in hot springs in Hokkaido. Explored ancient civilization near the pyramids of Egypt. Every corner of the world left traces of our love. Anyu's face was always filled with happiness. She said marrying me was the best decision she had ever made in her life. And for me, was it not the same? After the honeymoon ended, we returned to the city where we met. Anyu still could not bear to leave Timelight CAF. She said it was where her dream began and where our love began. I respected her choice. I established the Anyu Foundation in her name, specifically to help young people who had dreams but lacked opportunities. The foundation's office was placed on the second floor of the CAF. Every day, Anyu continued making the coffee she loved on the first floor. As for me, I handled the foundation's daily affairs upstairs. Occasionally, I would go downstairs and beg for a cup of corner light made by her own hands. She would smile and scold me, saying the boss was slacking off again. Then she would turn and brew for me the warmest cup of coffee in the world. Those days were plain, yet full of happiness. 1 year later, Anyu gave birth to a lovely son. I named him Lin Siu. Si as in missing. Yu as in the quiet corner. I hoped he would always remember that his mother was a woman so beautiful and so worthy of love. The birth of our son added even more joy to our lives. My parents were so happy they could not stop smiling. They wished they could stay in the city every day, guarding their precious grandson. And Ping's business, with my help, also grew bigger and bigger. He completely quit gambling and became a responsible man with real courage. He often visited us and bought all kinds of toys for his little nephew. Looking at the whole family laughing together, I often felt I was the happiest man in the world. One day, I was at the foundation reviewing a project application when Qin Zheng called. After I resigned, she became the CEO of the Stardust Plan. Our relationship was both mentor and friend. Mr. Lin, there is something I think I should tell you. Her tone sounded heavy. What happened? It's about Serena Shaw. Hearing that name, my heart sank for no reason. What happened to her? She passed away. The news of Serena's death was like a rock thrown into the calm lake of my heart, stirring ripples. Although the grievances between us had long ended, hearing of her death still gave me a complicated, indescribable sadness. What happened? My voice was dry. It was an accident. Qin Zheng sighed. The mountain region where she was teaching suffered a mudslide a few days ago. To save a child trapped inside a classroom, she was crushed under a collapsed building. When the rescue team found her, she was already gone. But she was still tightly protecting that child in her arms. The child survived. She stayed there forever. I fell silent. I did not know what language could describe my feelings at that moment. Shock. Pity. Or a trace of admiration I could not explain. I had never imagined that the woman who had once been selfish and cold, who valued her own interests above everything, would end her life in such a great and selfless way. Perhaps at the final moment of her life, she finally found something more important than money and career. Love. A vast love that asked nothing in return. How will her funeral be arranged? I asked softly. Her parents refused to claim her body. Qin Zheng's voice was full of contempt. They said she died outside and brought bad luck. They refused to let her enter the Shaw family grave. The local government and the family of the child she saved arranged her funeral together. She was recognized as an advanced individual for righteous bravery. Her story was also reported on the local news. In a way, she died with meaning. I hung up and walked to the window. Downstairs, my beloved wife was playing with our son under the sunlight. My heart was full of mixed feelings. Life is truly unpredictable. No one can know what kind of ending they will have. Serena used her life to draw a tragic full stop for the mistakes she had once made. She received the redemption she wanted. And I found the happiness I wanted. That evening, I told Anyu about it. After listening, Anyu was silent for a long time. She was also a pitiful person. She leaned in my arms and spoke softly. If she had understood earlier, perhaps everything would have been different. Yes. I sighed. But there are no ifs in life. All we can do is cherish the present. I held her and our sleeping son tightly. Anyu, thank you. Thank you for appearing in my life. Thank you for letting me understand what real love and happiness are. And you rubbed against me. Me too. Jinshin, meeting you was the greatest luck of my life. Serena's death was like a stone thrown into a lake. It stirred ripples, but soon the surface returned to calm. Life continued. Under Anu's and my joint management, the Anu Foundation grew better and better. We helped hundreds of young people with dreams realize their value. Some became small but well-known painters. Some opened their own music studios. Some, like Anu, owned small but beautiful CAFs. Every time we saw those young people shine with confidence because of our help, Anu and I felt sincere satisfaction and joy. The happiness of helping others achieve their dreams could not be compared with any amount of money. Our son, Lin Siu, also grew up healthily day by day. He inherited the best parts of both of us. My intelligence and steadiness. Anu's kindness and artistic talent. Since childhood, he showed strong interest in various musical instruments. Piano, violin, guitar. He seemed almost self-taught. My father regarded him as the future hope of the Lin family and wished he could give the best things in the world to him. But Anu and I did not want him to carry the family burden too early. We hoped he could have a happy, free childhood. We hoped he could chase his own dreams like an ordinary child, instead of becoming an heir to family interests. Because of that, I had a serious conversation with my father. Dad, I know your expectations for Siu. But I don't want him to walk my old road. The future of Kunlun Capital should not be pressed only onto one child. I want to build a more modern and scientific professional management system. Let capable people manage the company, not rely only on bloodline inheritance. At the time, my idea was bold and forward-looking. I thought my father would oppose it. Unexpectedly, after listening, he stayed silent for a moment and nodded. You have grown up. He looked at me with satisfaction. More mature than I imagined. Do it your way. I feel reassured leaving the Lin family's future to you. With my father's support, I began reforming Kunlun Capital heavily. I officially appointed Qin Zheng as global CEO of Kunlun Capital, giving her full control over daily operations. At the same time, I recruited the world's top financial and management talents to build a powerful elite team. I separated company ownership from management rights. The Lin family remained the controlling shareholder, enjoying dividends, but no longer interfering in specific decisions. This move caused a huge sensation in the business world. Many people thought I was insane. They could not believe I would hand over the empire my family had built to outsiders. But only I knew why I did it. I did not want my son to repeat my path. I wanted him to have the right to choose his own life. Not be labeled heir from birth. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 10 years went by. During those 10 years, the world changed dramatically. Under Qin Zheng's leadership, Kunlun Capital grew better and better, firmly sitting as the world's #1 investment institution. The Stardust Plan also achieved great results. Many companies we invested in became unicorns in their fields, deeply changing people's way of life. Anu's and my foundation helped tens of thousands of young people realize their dreams. Timelight CAF grew into a famous nationwide chain. But Anu still guarded the original small CAF where we first met. She said that was our root. Our son, Lin Siu, grew into a handsome, tall young man. He did not become a business genius as my father had hoped. Instead, he chose his own path. He became an independent musician. His songs were beautiful and earned a loyal group of fans online. Although he was not famous and only earned enough to support himself, he was happy and satisfied. Anu and I supported his choice completely. We often went to his live performances like ordinary little fans, cheering him on. On the 11th anniversary of our marriage, I did not prepare an expensive gift. Just like 10 years earlier, I took Anu back to the CAF where we first met. The CAF was holding a small unplugged concert. On stage, the young man quietly singing with a guitar was our son, Lin Siu. He was singing a song he wrote for us. The title was Timelight. That afternoon, the sunlight was perfect. You wore a white dress and stepped into my heartbeat. A cup of coffee, a smile destined a lifetime of entanglement and reliance. The gentle melody and lyrics echoed through the small CAF. Anu and I sat in our most familiar seats, holding hands and listening quietly. Her eyes grew wet. She leaned on my shoulder and whispered, "Jinshin, do you know? 10 years ago, when I met you here, I thought it was the unluckiest day of my life. Because I met a man I might never deserve. But now I know. That day was the luckiest day of my life. Because I met a man willing to give up the whole world for me. I held her tightly. Silly girl. I kissed her forehead. I didn't give up the whole world. I simply gained you. And you are more important than the whole world. A few more years passed. My parents passed away one after another. They left peacefully, without any regrets. At the final moments of their lives, they held Yous in my hands and told us we must continue living happily. Their passing left us grieving for a long time. But it also made us understand even more clearly how fragile life was, and how precious companionship could be. We spent more time with family and enjoying life. We handed the foundation and CAF business to professional teams. Then the two of us carried our bags and began a new round of travel around the world. This time, we no longer chased famous tourist spots. Instead, we searched for hidden paradises unknown to most people. We went to Namso Lake in Tibet and watched stars and sunrise beside the sacred lake. We went to Iceland's black sand beach and felt the grandeur and coldness of nature at the end of the world. We also specifically visited the remote mountain region where Serena had last taught. The place had changed greatly. With help from the local government and the INU Foundation, new schools, roads, and houses had been built. Children could study in bright, spacious classrooms. We found Serena's grave. It was a simple, small mound on a hillside full of wildflowers. There was no photo on the tombstone. Only one line, a teacher who loved this world. And you and I placed a bouquet of white daisies before her grave. Rest in peace. I looked at the tombstone and spoke softly. May you find true peace and happiness in another world. And you held my hand and said nothing. But her eyes were full of release and compassion. We met the child Serena had saved from the mudslide. He had grown into a healthy, cheerful teenager. He told us his dream was to get into the best teachers' university and return here. To become a respected rural teacher like Teacher Shaw. To pass on Teacher Shaw's love and hope. Hearing his words, and you and I felt deeply comforted. Serena's life had been short. But her spirit had continued eternally in another way. Perhaps that is the most beautiful meaning of life. Our son Lin Siu never became a household name superstar. His music was too niche and was never accepted by the mainstream market. But he did not care. He continued creating, using music to express how he viewed the world. Later, he met a girl who loved music like him and truly understood his songs. The girl was his loyal fan. Because of music, they met, understood each other, and fell in love. Their wedding was not like ours, which had shaken the world. It was only a simple, warm party held inside Timelight CAF. Only the closest family and friends attended. At the wedding, Lin Siu sang a song he had written especially for his bride. The song had no gorgeous words or complicated melody. But every note was filled with sincere love. The girl cried from emotion as she listened. And you and I sat below the stage, watching the happy couple before us. It was as if we saw ourselves from many years ago. How wonderful. And you leaned on my shoulder and sighed. Yes. Wonderful. I held her hand and answered softly. Perhaps happiness is exactly this. Passed down from generation to generation. After marriage, Lin Siu and his wife chose to stay in this city. They did not rely on us. Instead, they used their own money to buy a small apartment not far from us. Together, they ran a small music studio. Their days were poor, but full of laughter. And you and I often visited them, bringing daily necessities and meals we made ourselves. Every time, Lin Siu would say a little embarrassedly, "Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't become your pride." And I would always smile and pat his shoulder. Silly child. You can hold on to your dream and live the way you want. That is our greatest pride. Years passed quietly in ordinary happiness. And Yu's and my hair slowly turned white. Fine wrinkles climbed onto our faces. But our hands held each other more tightly and more warmly than when we were young. Our grandson was born too. A tiny, soft little life like an angel. His arrival added endless joy to our old age. And you and I spent all our time accompanying this little one. Teaching him to speak. Teaching him to walk. Telling him stories from our youth. We would point to the old window side table in Timelight CAF and tell him, back then, Grandpa met Grandma here. At the time, Grandma was still a clumsy little waitress. Whenever I said that, and you would pretend to be angry and hit me lightly. Nonsense. I was not clumsy. Then the three of us would laugh together. Qin Zheng also retired. She handed Kunlun capital to a successor she had personally trained. Then she packed a bag and began the world trip she had always dreamed of. She often sent us postcards from around the world, sharing what she saw and heard. She said she was grateful I had given her a platform to show her talent. But she was even more grateful that I helped her understand work was not all of life. People must learn to live for themselves. And Ping also became a successful entrepreneur. His company could not compare with Kunlun Capital, but in his field, it was among the best. He married and built a happy family. He often brought his wife and children to visit us. Every time, he held my hand and thanked me again and again. Thanked me for changing his life. And his sister's life. I only smiled and shook my head. I told him, the person who truly changed your lives was not me. It was your own kind and unyielding heart. As for Zakyu, I never heard of him again. He was like a stone that fell into the sea. Without causing even a ripple, he disappeared without a trace. Perhaps he was still somewhere in the world, struggling for survival. Perhaps he was no longer alive. But none of that had anything to do with me. Everyone chooses their own road. And everyone must pay the price for their choices. On my 80th birthday, the weather was especially good. The sunlight was warm and comfortable enough to make people sleepy. Lin Siyu threw me a grand birthday party. The location was the heart-shaped island wherein you and I had once held our wedding. The roses on the island bloomed even more brilliantly than decades ago. Our children, grandchildren, and friends came from all over the world to celebrate. For generations under one roof. Friends filling the hall. Looking at those familiar and dear faces, my heart was full of gratitude and satisfaction. At the dinner, I drank a lot. I held Anyu's hand and danced with her to the waltz we had loved most in our youth. Our steps were no longer light. Our bodies were somewhat weaker. But the way we looked at each other was still filled with love so deep it could not be dissolved. After the dance, I held Anyu's hand and walked to the beach. We sat side by side on the soft sand, looking at the brilliant stars and the bright moonlight over the ocean. The sea breeze gently stirred our white hair. Jianshan, have you ever regretted it? Anyu suddenly asked softly. Regretted what? Regretted giving up so much for me back then. I smiled. I turned and looked at the woman who had accompanied me for a lifetime. Her face was covered in wrinkles. But in my eyes, she was still the beautiful young girl in a white dress from the day we first met. I gently held her in my arms. No. I kissed her wrinkled forehead and spoke softly. In this life, I made many wrong choices. I missed many people and things. But the one thing I never regretted was falling in love with you and marrying you. And you are the best gift I received in this lifetime. And the only home of my heart. And you listened and smiled happily. She buried her head deep in my arms. Me too. Her voice was very, very light. Jianshan, marrying you was wonderful. We held each other beneath the starry sky that belonged only to us. Behind us was the warmth of the world. Before us was endless peace in the passing years. I knew my life no longer had any regrets. Because I had someone who loved me, and someone I loved. And a beautiful time worth remembering for an entire lifetime. That was enough. That's all for today's story. Remember to subscribe and leave a comment.